If you cry about a nickel, you'll die about a dime. Robert Johnson. I get to talk a little bit about Robert Johnson here, which is nice. One of my true heroes. All right, thanks once again for watching Blue City Reviews. Devil at the Crossroads is a Netflix original documentary from Brian Oakes. Directed this. I believe it's 2019. Not sure why it took me so long to see this, but my fiance and I watched Crossroads last night. She had never seen that. Walter Hill's Crossroads. I know there's a few of them actually. Now, Walter Hill's Crossroads from 1986, the blues movie. She loved that, so we've been listening to Robert Johnson all day, and I was like, honey, I think there's a documentary we never watched on Netflix about him. And she's like, yeah, let's check it out. And I threw it up there, and right away I was like, 48 minutes. This is not going to be extremely in depth, but I gave it a chance, and I'm glad I did, because I learned a lot about this subject that I didn't know before. Now, we all know Robert Johnson's influence on music of all sorts, but specifically blues and rock and roll, right? The chords he played and the lyrics he wrote are recycled and regurgitated and mimicked and covered and copied and pasted over and over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, obviously Eric Clapton, really blew up with his cover of Crossroads. He would have blown up anyway. That was one of his first huge hits. You got Rolling Stones, obviously, The Doors, obviously. I'm pretty sure Jim Morrison thought he was Robert Johnson for a little while. Led Zeppelin rips off entire passages from him. I don't know. I've never looked at the song credits in a Led Zeppelin album, but I would hope they gave him some credit, because the whole squeeze my lemon bit, the lemon juice running down the legs and shit. That's Robert Johnson. So we know what he did for music. I think people who haven't even heard his songs have probably heard, oh, Robert Johnson did this, did that. So that's a no-brainer. And luckily, they only touch on that a little bit. They touch on that enough with, brief interviews from, the Stones and Clapton. And Keith Richards does not dominate the documentary, though. The other big part of the Robert Johnson story, obviously, is the whole legend behind that, right? He made a deal at the Crossroads. He sold his soul to the devil in order to become the best blues player, singer, songwriter on the planet. The devil took the guitar from him, tuned it, said, when I give you this guitar back, I will have your soul. Do you want it? Robert Johnson, without missing a beat, said, shit, yeah. And the devil handed him the guitar. Now, there's people right off the bat who are going to be like, well, that's just, horse shit. And then there are people who are going to be like, oh, yeah, it definitely happened, because this, and this, and, there's no way you can convince me otherwise. The legend is true. And then there's people like me in the middle, and I'm assuming the people who made this documentary are, of a similar viewpoint, because they really echoed my sentiments about the whole thing. There are people in the middle who think, certain portions of the legend must be true or it wouldn't be around this long, but a little literal incarnation of it, standing at a crossroads with the devil walking up to you, is a stretch. So I learned a lot from this documentary. I knew he'd had a hard past. African Americans, obviously, in that time, didn't have it easy at all. In fact, they were in hell, literal hell. So it was easy to see where some of his lyrics came from that standpoint. I did not know about, his wife and child who had died. I did not know about any of that. And it explains a lot, that whole section of the movie about, the girl that he put down his guitar for and was pregnant with his child, really brought a lot into focus for me. The other thing they go into here, which I wasn't aware of, is the hoodoo aspect of it. Sort of African-American sort of spirituality practiced during enslavement, rituals and spells. And I don't know a whole lot about it. Obviously, I've heard of hoodoo, but I don't know enough about it to go in depth about it. But Robert Johnson certainly did. Holy shit, they're like picking out bits and pieces from his lyrics I'd never even known. I mean, Hellhound on My Trail is one of my favorite songs of all time. I get chills, like literal chills that crawl up my spine when I hear it, but I never considered the lyric where he drops spicy pepper at the door, and African Americans would do that back then to throw off the bloodhounds who were chasing them. And one of Robert Johnson's fathers, he had a couple, was apparently chased down by bloodhounds. So that the song took on a whole new meaning. No, it's not just this mythological thing. It's, literal hellhounds on his trail. And the hoodoo aspect, hoodoo is all over his lyrics. And, maybe the devil is not the Christian version of the devil, could be that as well. But from all we know about Johnson, this documentary states he rejected the church, and in fact, they rejected him as well. So it was kind of mutual as time went on, but he may be referring to Legba, which is the West African voodoo god of the crossroads. I mean, Legba is literally, the symbol looks like a crossroads. And his lyrics about the hoodoo in there, man, he was obviously... there's obviously a lot to the man, He wasn't, just some guy from the fields who took a guitar and ran and wanted to make it famous. He was dabbling in some shit, and this comes up a lot with the rock stars, Jim Morrison and the black magic stuff. There's a whole book that probably hasn't been written just on, his phase in the dark arts. So selling his soul to the devil, I mean, yeah, it doesn't have to be exactly that. There could be a lot to it. There's a lot to hoodoo. And even Crossroads was smart enough to bring Legba into the mythology, and their version of hell wasn't just fire and flames. It was a bit more of a spiritual idea, which is fantastic. So I learned a lot from this documentary about Robert Johnson. Where it falls short is the running time, 48 minutes. They could have easily tacked another 10 minutes on here just dealing with his songs. They don't really talk about the music enough. Like the actual songs themselves, the motivations behind the songs. They go into a little bit, but another 10 minutes just dealing with the music would have been awesome. But I'm glad this exists. Certainly, if you love the blues and you don't know much about Robert Johnson, check this out on Netflix. Devil at the Crossroads. Loves me some Robert Johnson. For people who don't believe in ghosts, all you got to do is put on a Robert Johnson record, man. That's it. Tell me you don't feel somebody standing behind you. Thanks for watching Blue City Reviews. Cheers.